All right, here we go. Folks, we are having, Trina, you realize that YouTube has been down and people are having difficulties. If you are um, got Gmail, Facebook, there's a worldwide outage. YouTube was out this morning. Google is still dealing with revamping. And so I'm glad that we're actually going live, and let me just check everything
Favorite,
out.
favorite, favorite.
Yeah, we are live across the
Hi,
board. So,
everybody.
hello everyone. Good to see you. If you're here, then you are where you're supposed to be. And this is a second look. You know who I am, and my lovely co-host, Miss Trina Phoenix and Miss Jennifer Roberts. Hello, you two lovely ladies. Let me just speak favor over us all because, hey, when you get into those dips and those valleys and what have you, that's when it's really cool because the favor factor comes in. And even though it's like, man, I didn't plan this, I didn't speak this, but it comes along, favor comes in. You're always going to come out above. You're always going to be ahead, not the tail. So nothing missing, nothing broken. So welcome everybody. Thank you everyone in the chat room, all you beautiful moderators, and well, all the rest of y'all really moderate. This is a community of love and respect, and it's beautiful. So, ladies, last week I was knee deep in stuff and so missed it. But it is so good to be back with both of you. So, how are y'all doing?
Wonderful.
Okay, I love that.
Who's
Jenny,
doing?
Yeah, great, great. It's been a favorable week, I think, for women in general, in that I think there's been a lot of us in this difficult energy of this sort of riptide energy, in our children, people around us, and a lot of the empaths that really felt that. And yeah, it's been, for the simplest of things, my friend doing really well with her first women's group, women's practice group, women that I met in the shop today, there was just an overwhelming sense of
Jenny, I
connectedness
cannot hear you. You sound muffled.
oh, sorry, we've got the new
Yeah,
11 forward. Is that better?
no, no.
I'll, I'll search and I'll fix it.
Technical difficulties, folks. I mean,
Across the board. Yeah.
Trina,
Okay.
you and I were talking before we went, because the eclipse is coming,
Yeah.
and I will be down there. I already know exactly where I'm going, so it's only like 40 miles to the south of me, and so anyway, it's just a lot of weird stuff. I mean, like this, they're saying it's a cyber attack. That's what the initial word came out. And when you see platforms like Facebook, subsequently Google, YouTube, Microsoft as well, which is interesting. So you were saying as well that um, you were listening to a program that had the spirit box. Is that right?
Yep.
We got
Yeah.
one right over there.
Yeah.
Um, saying
Well,
it's going to be an interesting time. Is that what the spirit box
it,
said?
it sure seems like it's possible. It was Hope Paranormal, and I think it was his conversation with Angie, and she was talking about Easter, that watch the sky rip, and there will be flooding on the earth, a lot of flooding, and it was just it, and it was like you need another spirit chatted in and said, can you put this public, or can she put this public? And then she was like, tell the people. And then they're like, yes. And then again, they're reiterating, they're like, the people need to know. And they're like, we are trying to stop this. We are trying to stop this. But it almost felt like a plea for help for the humans, like to
Hmm.
connect with the spirit. Like there's something big going on upstairs right now, and it's about the sky ripping. And I had that dream about my dad where the sky ripped and I could see the dimensions above us. And I was like, why can we see that? I was like kind of blown away. So I think this came up because of the sky ripping. I keep talking about that from the dream with my father, and it came up in YouTube about the sky ripping. So this is weird synchronicities, but I've been hearing for the last month after I had my session, I like have this knowing the cycle of Atlantis, we're in the same cycle. They keep showing me we're back again. And this is a same thing. And this the reason we lost then was because we gave our power away. And if we can come together and hold our power together, we're going to make a very, very big difference. But the thing I think that went wrong with Atlantis was we forgot to shield the planet. If we would have just collectively shielded the earth, it wouldn't have had the destruction it had. But we literally forgot to shield our own planet. Just like we shield our aura, we shield our bodies. We got to shield our body and then our community and then the planet. We got to go threefold with shielding now. They're saying shield, shield, shield. It will make such a big difference. So it's time to get ready because something funky's up.
Can I check? Can you hear me better now?
That is better. Yes, Jenny, I can actually hear you.
Good,
Before,
yes.
it was like you had a mouthful of marbles.
And there's an echo.
It's like, what is she saying? But anyway, so how are things with you, Jenny? Haven't seen you in a couple of weeks.
Good. I was just saying before, and it's a little bit of word confirmation of the layers of reality reflecting one another. When I was muffled, I was saying it's been like we've been a lot of feminine energy in particular has been in this sort of riptide of energy, and it feels like we've been getting pulled oceans apart in various different ways with loved ones, worried about those various different factors that have really come in on the mother divine feminine energy. And this week has been just such a fruitful week for me, noticing this really connectedness of women, like walking past women, and I always smile. And if anyone wants a hug, they can have it. But just other people being open to that energy, as I'm just walking along with Theo, a real connectedness has been happening in the last few days in particular, I think amongst wombs, like wombs around the world connecting up. And like Trina said, really sourcing that shielding energy. So I reckon the divine feminine really knows what's up at the minute too, being very adept in those deep waters above and below and within. So yeah, it is
And that would
empowering to
be,
recognize it.
and if there's a rise on the divine feminine, because in my opinion, I think the feminine part of our species is under attack. I
Has
think
been.
the transgender movement is an attack on feminism.
I think it
All
goes
of it.
all the way back to the Roman
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's been so many thousands of years now that they've like removed all of the idols of her. It's been a long time.
And if she is emerging again,
Mhm.
then there's going to be conflict because
Oh,
two
absolutely.
energies can't occupy the same space, particularly two directly opposing energies.
That's it. And in the animal kingdom, the plant life kingdom, it's people get it messed up because they've been so conditioned through these cycles, like Trina says, right from the Romans. The only reason I've always said this and done many videos on it, the only reason these systems have been able to be made in the first place to control and oppress was they had to systematically take out the women, the healers, the women, the cooks, the alchemists, which is the cycle and the story of time as we know it, burn the witches,
Well, look back
first
in Shakespearean days, in your culture directly, Jenny. I mean, it was forbidden by the king, the crown. Women could not be in plays. Women could
no,
not be in the arts.
they were, big style, that's
Yeah,
part of
but
our
the point is that isn't there a rumor about Was it which queen was it that they think may have actually just been a guy?
Elizabeth.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well,
Elizabeth,
I think,
thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I think there's been a few there that way. Because
Yeah.
the divine feminine energy in a rightful space within all of us, within men and women, but particularly in women, in that rightful space in society, actually directly, like you say, opposes and neutralizes this patriarchal system that we're now under that doesn't even work for men, really.
You,
It's
and not
about
to interrupt here, Jenny, but you really hit the key word here, which we're under. This is
Yeah.
yeah.
oppression. This is an
Yeah.
oppressive, but go on, hon, go on.
So it's not about growth. It's not about the organic growth that the divine feminine is very good at. And actually, it's the whole demonization of it that literally all of these systems at the very core foundation are built on taking the divine feminine pillar away. So that then when you slander the mother, when you slander the mother, everybody comes from a womb. You automatically
We
slander
hope.
that, whether it's man or male or a female child, you automatically undermine and oppress and condition that being, male or female, that it is less than, because half of it doesn't count. The very thing it came from, the vessel it came from, doesn't count, is not given the same allowances in society. And actually, in the name of feminism, we've been conditioned to actually just work as slaves, in that we can no longer run a household. It is nigh on impossible with the routines humans are made to keep in work-life balance. We are no longer in charge of our children because there is so much out there that is teaching our children, conditioning our children 24/7, internet, schools, universities. So gradually that power being taken away, we actually see the psychopathic nature of the patriarchal system, and it's eating itself up right now. And the woman is rising up, and me and Gaia
And
spoke
that
about
would
this.
cause conflict
Yeah,
in
yes.
not only in culture itself, but in the psyche of our species as Homo sapiens.
It's challenging.
Yeah,
It's a
it is.
challenge.
What
You
We're,
I
know,
we're
was,
that
going
was
into
one of the go ahead, hon.
which one?
Whoever
you.
whose ever toe I stepped on.
I just keep seeing that this is the opportunity, like we've always been divide, divide, divide. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
masculine. It's that's been the constant thing. And yeah, the roles have flipped and one's one and one's one. What if we married them and blended them? Because this is the whole reason that they have to keep the feminine suppressed, is because this is your creativity. This is where you get
Well, the
inspiration,
book we read said
intuition.
that eventually that the thing now, depending on your position, that man, if you want to say man, as I was taught by a rabbi, was Adam actually had what they would call woman. He had the womb of a man.
Yes.
And as the book that we were reading, that it's about bringing us back into that one species again.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Divided only to make a whole, to be a vessel, two vessels that can come together to make a whole in this physical reality. But actually, divine feminine, divine masculine is as much in you as it is in me, as it is in Trina and everybody else. It's there to be found and fed and nourished. But also, woman, I mean, if you biology wise, if you would take the insides of a man and push them right up there, all of a sudden you've got fallopian tubes, ovaries, you've got a womb, that it's just inside out. It literally quite is, from a biological standpoint, inside out,
Yep.
the balls then being the ovaries. It's absolutely,
Yeah, it's the
you
same. It's
same
exactly. But I
because
think today that, and here it's just my perspective again, you have the masculine that has been there, our governments, our cultures, our habits are all predicated upon this male patriarchal
Parasitic.
identity. And I can tell you, one of the things that I found most offensive now about particularly the Bible itself, but the Old Testament, is that women were considered to be nothing more than submissive. They really didn't have a voice. They were subjected to basically, it was for the relief of the male. That was basically about it. So I contend, if in fact the divine feminine is now rising, I think as a culture, as a species, I think the vast majority of the species wouldn't know what to do. They would consider it a threat. They would see it as a threat. And let me just put this in. Transgenderism has a role to play in this because it's still part of who and what we are as a species.
It's mimicking that oneness.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that is a good word for it. It is mimicking that, whatever that blend is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a distraction to keep you from the esoteric truth and turn it into a
Yeah,
physical thing
yeah.
when it's more of a spiritual esoteric transformation, because we were born with both attributes. And yeah, you're dominantly expressing one just through a Y or an X chromosome. But other than that, we're identical. And it's the same being, just being diversified so it could procreate. So that's with working together in a system of separation, which is such a mind conundrum. I mean, hello.
Well, isn't the natural order of things is that as we come into existence as embryos, we all start out as females?
Yes.
Is that not
Yes.
true?
Yes,
That's
it is.
true.
Well, okay, so if consciousness, here's the thing, even in an embryonic state, is consciousness present within that, or is this simply this dividing of cells? I kind of contend to think that consciousness is. And so if that is the case, what I'm saying is that we all are, in essence, the divine feminine. We all are female. It's just that through that transition of that curse, which I call it, we lose that identity.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I
I think it's
Go
one,
ahead, Jen.
Trina. Well, I think it's as well the whole oneness and the seeking of oneness and the divine feminine is that already there are so many people being triggered by this, in that they're seeing it as a threat. Either they're seeing the transgender and that seeking of oneness in that way as a threat, and it is in certain circumstances. But also they're seeing the woman as a threat. And so in general, it is just the woman. And what they've forgotten is that you can see, for say attraction, let's say, which is something that's easy for people to understand because we all have it. I've been attracted to such feminine men that hold such a masculine ability to channel that feminine energy through the masculine body. And really, healers that I've met, that I've worked with, Zach, the Druid priest, is so
Elvis
feminine in
Presley,
nature.
George Michaels. I
Gentle.
mean,
Yeah.
Nothing more
seriously, that's why
attractive.
Elvis Presley was so attractive, is that he had the feminine aspect to his masculinity.
Yeah.
George
But you
Michaels is
still know
another
that
one.
they're happy to channel that masculinity as and when needed. And so whatever was happening with their divine femininity, it actually means that it was like it's not a sex thing, it's an esoteric thing, it's an etherical thing.
It's not a
So
sex thing. It's a state of mind. It's a
it's a
state of
state of mind.
consciousness.
Yeah, and they could channel that masculine energy from that springboard of divine femininity in a way that actually you still felt that safety around them. You still knew that they would be the man in the scenario, i.e., in their physical attributes, so the way that they could talk to somebody if necessary. So again, it's getting away from this femininity thing, because I think if a lot of people had been allowed to just be whatever, whether they're super masculine or have that masculine attribute, but with that divine femininity really present too, then they would just be that. But this conditioning, it gets in because it is natural to us. It can be nourished, it can be developed, those divinities within. But if you've got this pummeling of, if you're feeling this way, you're in the wrong body. And it's like, no, you're not in the wrong body. You just need to learn to accept it and love it in a present way, and just deliver it with that
It's
way.
it's interesting because again, the title of the program is that, reject the reprogramming, and there is a reprogramming taking place on our planet. I mean, um,
You know what I think is happening is it's actually running a program called Armageddon. I
yeah,
literally
and
running
it
a program called Armageddon.
and the
It's
thing about
trying.
that, when I studied, end time prophecy, I mean, it's the reason why end time prophecy is so compelling is that because it's got a lot of death, it's got scary stuff, and people love that shit. It's like
They
you and I were
do.
talking about doubt. If you have doubt, I can tell you the root of all doubt is fear, simple
Yes, it is.
fear.
When you
And
don't history, it's comforting in a weird way, even though it's an upsetting cycle and we get annoyed with it.
so
It's
can I
better than
just come out and say something and it's interesting because I did not lead the conversation. It came here. So Armageddon. So this is supposedly God's wrath. This is the end time of which, good and evil will come face to face and good shall triumph. Well, that's actually kind of communistic in the fact that now there's only going to be one belief system. But let me go on. So this is God intervening in the affairs of man. Now, I got a
Mhm.
problem. I learned something this weekend that I had never heard before. The United States is in Europe is in this midst of migration of humanity. And it seems like our leaders, you can't figure out what the hell's going on because they're so much in double speak. It's ridiculous. But I heard a report that, okay, so God intervenes for the end times. But in the meantime, as many of these ranchers in Arizona, New Mexico, particularly in Arizona, they have what they have on their property more and more called rape trees. Now, if you've never heard the term rape tree, it is where women, young girls, are being raped by these gangs. And the trophies is that they put their panties on the tree. And this is all throughout the Southwest. So my question is, you've got a young 8-year-old girl who's being raped, and where the fuck is God intervening here? Where is that child's gone? Where are the politicians dealing with that? This is it. I'm infuriated when I think of the dehumanization that us humans do to
Well,
other
it's
Yeah.
humans.
everybody's afraid to do anything about it. So they'll watch the most horrible things happen right in front of them, and they think it's okay to
I
film
don't
it.
know if
They'll
anyone's
pull
seen
out their
rape trees.
phone.
I don't know if that's happening but that it's the fact that
I've
this is
heard it that way.
happening.
No, I've heard.
It's just it is so sick. And
But
it
again, it's
repulses
us.
me to be a human being, and
Yeah,
sometimes sitting here and trying to have esoteric knowledge put forth when you realize the fucking 3/4 of, well, let's just be honest, 99% of the fucking world doesn't care.
but I think that the percentage doesn't need to be large to change things because we do have
Well,
that
it's
much
not
power.
working.
Well, I don't think enough people are focusing on what we need to focus on. And I don't know how we're going to come to that conclusion other than just maybe shielding the planet.
And that's
Maybe
not
that will
funny,
help.
Night Vision. We need to ban trees. No, that's not the point here. You missed the whole point.
So I think
These
he's
are
making a,
lives. These are human souls.
I think
And
he's
the
making an
torture, I
irony
mean,
with you.
I just don't.
I
I'm
think he's
sorry,
making
it
an
just
irony over people are saying when Goliath threw the rock at the giant and killed him, did they ban rocks? I think that's kind of a thing like that he's going with is
no, I get it. I get it.
blame
It's
the
just
tree. We blame the
it
people.
just, it gets
I
back
think
to this whole point. Is our species even worth saving?
well,
I am.
yeah, we are.
Well, okay, so we go individualistic. I'm worth saving.
The
no,
people
no,
I know are worth saving. The people that I don't know that are committing these atrocities, whether or not they're worth saving, that's kind of not up to me. All I do know is that
But
if
you see, I'm trying
if
to
it
talk
comes
about the
around
bigger
me,
picture, though, Trina, that we have politicians that are absolutely responsible for this.
yes, we
So-called
do.
leaders, so-called men of God.
that's why I don't think that they can be the leaders anymore. I just don't think that's working out so well for anybody
Sorry,
in the
folks,
whole
but
world.
it just I get emotional when, as an
It's a
empath,
sad world,
you
Wade. It
feel that
really is
But
horror.
sad.
It just
so you should, because we are
Yeah.
only ever being able to be measured on the ability to actually do what we do for the more vulnerable than us. It's the only way to measure empathy, care. It's the only way to measure love outside of self and connectedness. That just because even if you have the opportunity to be cruel to something more vulnerable than you always choose not to be. And that's where the measure of society is for me now. Like Trina, I see so many people here and out and about, and I see the light of the boys. Theo was lit up today. His aura was lit up, and he was creating such an impact with everybody that glanced at him. And that's the glancing at the God particle to me, these children. But at the same time, we're apathetic to
yeah,
it.
because
It's
I'm
abs-
sitting here. So how do I can begin to change this? How, if we have
it,
all this conscious ability, all these so-called potential psychic abilities, how do we change that?
we don't use psychic abilities. We use the
Oh,
proof. We stop paying taxes. We don't have to pay taxes if we even suspect it's
yeah,
going
but that's
towards
not realistic, though. I mean, people not stopping to pay taxes. I mean, listen, people,
in the
you're not
UK.
advocating losing people's homes and what have you. I mean, it.
In the UK, because there's a law in America and in the UK that if you suspect the government using taxpayer money for terroristic agendas, then you can write to them and they'll never send you the proof, but they won't chase you. But in the UK in the 1980s, everybody stopped paying their tax because of Margaret Thatcher, because she was driving people into the ground, and they had to drop that tax. They had to drop it real quick. And so that was a collective response. But
That's awesome. Wow.
we have to do those physical things, and they try and make us forget that we haven't done it before and that we haven't achieved those things before. But we did in the UK in the 1980s. Within months, that tax was dropped, and it was never mentioned again. They were terrified to mention it again, and so it is important as well that we see through the bullshit of the programming, in that in the name of what God would be interested in one slither of land for gas or for
Right.
minerals or for cobalt. God would be interested in the blood of children's hands in
And you
Ghana
know what they're
being
also doing with the migrants as they're crossing over? They're collecting their DNA.
exactly,
Of course
exactly.
they
It's a
do.
data collection as well.
What
And
what's the purpose for that?
if you're looking at insurance and
I mean,
because
I'm going, okay, what I mean,
I was gonna
this
say,
is
I
nefarious, is what I'm saying.
was
It's
Noah's
got a
Ark.
bad voodoo vibe to it. I mean, and it's big. I mean,
But
this
it's like
is
Noah's Ark, isn't it, that they're repeating? They're forcing mass migration because Western governments are going into places and unsettling them on bullshit rhetoric. And that's proved over and over again in retrospect. But they like Noah's Ark. I believe Noah's Ark is a story of a collection of DNA, not physical animals everywhere in one boat, but a collection of DNA, and they're collecting these people's DNA. They're collecting our data, and I
well, then
think
that would
it's
be almost alien
yeah,
of what I've been teaching here, and it's all connected here because there
Yeah.
is something really nefarious taking place with humanity right now. It's on a huge, grand scale. Now, I
Yes.
know talking about the subject that of these trees that they talk about, that gets into more of the minutia of this. But if we step back, there's something going on here. I mean, this is something, it's reshuffling the deck, literally.
Yeah. I do think some of this DNA is actually going into these realms that I picked up on years ago, that they're building these other realities, these other realms that it was coming through real clear a little while ago, where I could literally feel them building it, and
I
then
have
Meta.
I
I
saw that, Jen. You're right. I've seen that so many
Yeah,
times.
so I did video after
Yeah.
video on that because it came through really nefariously, really, and I could see that they were trying to get people's consciousness hooked in there, and I warned that they were going to hook that up to people's DNA in there too. Now, if you think about the amount of data that can be collected and stored on one strand of DNA, there is
Well,
not a
someone pointed out too in this article I was reading, a lot of these individuals are coming from countries that they don't typically do that. So you're getting this, and the purpose for the DNA, I have no idea. But if our government's doing it, it ain't for the good of everybody else. I'm going, something else is going on here. And
Well,
I'm
because
wondering if the same thing's happening in Europe.
I think
course
it's
it
because
is. It
of
absolutely is.
the
Okay.
We're in
medication.
lockstep with you.
Well, they're
Okay.
going to program medications specifically ordained to your DNA. I'm pretty sure this is what they're doing. It's not only track and trace, but they're going to be able to affect specific groups by knowing
There's a
that.
purpose for it. And I don't know what it is, but it's just, and again, I don't apologize as I'm reading some of the comments on the passion of these horrors, these atrocities that are taking place. And it's just sad that humans, um, I mean, we truly are animals. I think we're talking animals. That's why the stories of, you have it even in the Bible and the Quran and the Torah of animals talking, that they're intelligent, they have cognitive ability. And we do things to ourselves that the animal kingdom, other animal species won't do. Now, they'll eat others. Sometimes they eat their own kind, but they don't do this kind of nonsense. And so,
It's
They're not
environment. I
being,
mean,
yeah, they're
we
not doing the
become
psychological warfare.
Yeah, we become what we're immersed in, and they've created this environment, and we've gone so far away from organic way into a consume, it's about consume, consume, consume. It's literally the serpent eating his own tail. We're in the heaviest part of that cycle right now. So we've been completely brought away from our organic, brought into this competitive, commercialized, corporate autocracy. So this is the environment. This is not organic to what we are. So of course everything's going to go wrong. This is not natural to what we're supposed to be
it's
experiencing.
not
So
natural.
yeah, it's an opposition to everything that we are. So it's not us, it's the environment which we've allowed to develop for the promises of toys and technology. We did this in Atlantis. It didn't go so well. So
You
hopefully
know,
people
I
push
when I
back a little
was
bit. Not going to go well.
meditating on this, I was looking at this as a perspective from, I've been my own since I was 15. So I'm just putting myself as a youth at 15 about to cross this no man's land. And, it's truly literal hell. I mean, there are certain passages that you can go through virtually unscathed, but those are overcrowded. And so you're forced out into these Netherlands where apparently hell lives itself out because and what I realize is that we are the builders and the perpetrators of hell itself.
It's
No
here.
God had to build a place called hell. We did it ourselves.
It's here.
And
It's
Which is
here.
why it wasn't mentioned
They rape
before.
little girls here. They rape little
yeah.
boys here. They kill babies here.
Mhm.
There's no, they do horrible, atrocious things here. So that expression exists here. And heaven for many people also exists here. So it's all here.
Well,
And
heaven would be any place of what a perceived safety would be, but unfortunately, the places that perceive to be heaven are actually just another portal into another nightmare.
if you buy the bullshit, yeah, you might go down the slide.
Mm-mm-mm. And I
Makes
don't know.
another
I look
great
at this
point.
from a philosopher's point of view, and it saddens my soul that religion has not changed us. Materialism hasn't changed us. If anything, those two combined, and you add politics into there and science now, and it's like, what are we doing? It befuddles my mind to look at this, and I got to tell you, there are small beams of light that are trying to counter this, but whatever this is, it's pretty fucking powerful.
Yeah.
It's powerful as well because it does have a big mass of collective source. You're right, Wayne, that there's a lot of us type of beings, but there's more right now of very conditioned beings, or even beings that actually enjoy the same protocols and agendas that politicians do that are in charge. And again, but I wish people could see more of just how much of it is bullshit. I've been learning more and more about the insurance companies. And right now, actually, individuals aren't having as many accidents. That's gone plummeting down. They're not claiming as many things. They're not drink driving as much and all of those things. So actually, what is driving up the people's prices in the middle is the politicians who get a kickback because they've made it law to have that insurance, and also the gangs. And the gangs are left alone by the police because the politicians know that that kickback would go away because insurance companies, like before the 1980s, would be practically null and void because people don't want to be having accidents if they can help it. They don't want to be having. Now people are so conditioned to rely on even insurances outside of themselves to keep them safe should anything happen. Whereas before that, there was more of a sovereignty about, I'm going to be really aware of my situation because I'm not going to do that to someone else or myself. So actually, when you look at it from a data perspective, from that point of view, in general, people just want to get on like animals and have fun and be sexual beings, and in a way that is protective towards children, and be friends and be connected. It's all of
Not
this
here.
bullshit
You,
actually
you
that is
drive
conditioned.
the number one problem here now in the United States, cities like Los Angeles, Seattle, San Francisco, Denver, St. Louis, Kansas City, and you just go through, is now it is people are shooting at one another. I mean, it's crazy. There was the Steve Martin did a movie, and anyway, in the movie, it was a satirical thing. It was 3 o'clock, and on the news and the overhead, it says, and now it's open gun season. And so everyone's shooting at it. My point is, and I saw this on the national news, anger. And they're talking to law enforcement, they're talking to social workers, politicians as to what's going on. Why is it that now, when you get on the interstates, that people are now using guns to shoot one another, and that you have, as one cop that I was talking to recently, that is their number one situation is road rage.
Yeah.
And
Do
now
you
people are
think
dying because of it. In cases, it was one cop was saying one 14-year-old youth was in a car that he had no business being in. It's a Dodge Charger, whatever this new one is, the Hellcat. And that kid hit over 16 cars that
Wow.
So 16 individuals just had a hit and run situation. The kid had no insurance. And so this is what in America is driving up the things, because now the insurance, as the cop was telling me, so the person has no recourse. I mean, yeah, you could sue the kid and maybe their parents, but still your insurance company is going to have to fix that damage that it wasn't even your fault. So
Yeah.
it's
And but within that, there's traps. They have so many loopholes to try and not pay. That it is, and Night Vision's quite right. There's just layers, as above, so below. The government is a gang. The royal family are grifters.
you
We
can go
have
to jail
grifters
saying that over
underground.
here.
Well, yeah, I'll put my hands up because I'll die saying it. In that the government is a gang, it's a mafia, and we have mafias on the ground thinking they can run roughshod over everybody else. And then also we have grifters like the royal family wanting to live off everybody else, like parasites, and we also have parasites amongst us that walk amongst us that want to live off everybody else. As above,
Yep.
so below. We've just got to stop finding a way and find a way to stop giving so much power to a source. And basically, we have to accept at this point that our governments were hijacked after World War II, before that, but big style after World War II. And after World War II, our governments no longer served us. They were so slowly but surely serving the birthing corporations and the birthing war machines that suddenly found that death made money, and death made so-called heroes. And so, that's what we need to get past, that the government is not a government. They're basically puppets, literally conduits for whoever is stroking their hand the biggest, in a way, financial way or one-upmanship way. Our own prime minister is sitting there unelected, nobody elected him, which is another psyop thing. They've made sure the last 3 MPs PMs we've had, nobody elected them. Just through, they've gotten us used to people being elected within the party rather than us electing them. And he has basically sent £500 million investment to certain infusion technologies that we went through in the last
And we don't
COVID.
want to get, Jenny, I don't want to cut you off on, but the censors will
Profiteering.
just step,
Yeah, I'll not say
and
any words
I don't want
because
to get a strike is what
profiteering.
I'm saying,
Yeah, I don't blame you. But the
So
profiteering is happening, personal profiteering. It's there to see. It's actually our documents anyway. I can speak only for the UK then, but there's documents being spoken about in our news now, which is odd. But again, I think it's just the softening of it because the information is out there and people have gotten wise to, hold on a minute, there's not a real reason for us to all be poor right now and so oppressed. Actually, there's a lot of money going around. It's just staying up here. It's not coming down here. And but things are getting shaken up. They are. People
Paul
are right.
Joes was asking, Hellcat charges a funny name. Yeah, it is. It's called a Hellcat, and it's 500 plus horsepower. So
Yeah.
you got to ask yourself, what is a 14-year-old? And it's
Oh,
crazy.
he stole Dad's car. That's what he did.
He's stole
Yeah.
somebody's car.
He
Yeah,
stole Dad's
and
car. That's exactly
yeah,
what he did. Or he
and
got Mom's car or his sister's car, but he got somebody in his family. That's I did that before.
and it is
So I
part of
know
that
that's what he did.
thing. They don't even weigh human life out. Human life,
I didn't hit nobody though.
you know, um, it's
You know,
becoming cheaper and
the game
cheaper.
at that age,
You know,
that because of the gaming that they're used to, I find that actually, how children don't really have a concept of full consequence of death. People can die and still a little bit afterwards they'll be saying, so when are they coming
Gilbert
back?
says it's 700 plus horsepower. Gilbert,
Ah,
thank you, brother.
there you go.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean that's equivalent to the old NASCAR.
yeah,
Back
Yeah,
in the days when I was
yeah.
involved with NASCAR. I mean, 750 horsepower. I mean, yeah. So, and it's a
right.
$100,000 car, according to John
Yeah,
Price.
I think
So,
he's right.
a
I think
14-year-old driving 700 horsepower car that cost 100,000 bucks.
But
And
I'm telling
yeah,
you, they stole that baby. They stole that one.
Mm.
They
Got
stole it.
to.
And
Nobody would give
caused
a
about,
14-year-old.
$250,000 in, trying to get your car fixed. Because,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, a
yeah,
bumper, and we can speak from, some personal history on this. A bumper costs like $5,000.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and a door, and then a quarter panel,
You're
a
looking at 10.
door.
And then before you know it, they're like, we're just totaling it. It's cheaper to
Yeah,
total
it's
than it
like,
is to fix.
whoa, you
Yeah.
know, but it
Yeah.
is true. And Jenny, I think you're right. It's
Turn it on.
because they're used to the video games.
Yes.
Yes, yes,
To them, it's that
yes.
it's
And then
that
also
People like
too,
when people just sort of recharge, come back to life. You can get another life bar or something. They're so used to that. I see it with the boys. I have to be careful with it with the boys that it's like they're playing. It's like the children that haven't got that balance have already been initiated into this other realm where their consciousness hasn't really got a full grasp of consequence, even like a 14-year-old like me and Trina, we admit we stole the parents' cars. I stole a car at 14 and was taking myself into college every day, never had an accident. I just didn't want to get the bus. And I love cars. I love to drive. But, at the same time, I was very aware of what consequence there was, but I hadn't
criminal,
been
are
brought
you? Hmm.
up was
dude,
recharging. Happy to say so.
yeah.
Radical. But
At
but
14, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
two, Trina. I mean, I never got caught ever.
Me neither.
I mean,
I did
I
have a
was
little
a
outrun in the
driver.
police though, and I hid in somebody else's garage. That was interesting when the owners came out of the house. That was fun. They about had a heart attack, and I was like, this isn't my grandma's house, and played so stupid. Yeah, it worked though.
Now, they're not, and
I need a
listen, and,
hug.
and to be fair, we look back at those days, and so were rebellious to one nature or not, but
Yeah.
none of us were out there to harm anyone else. I
And Wayne,
mean,
what's the difference about when we grew up versus this generation? We've got over almost 90 now percent of the human population medicated with these
yeah,
psycho drugs.
yeah.
So if you just look at again, what has this environment done to humans? Our life was pretty sweet growing up. I'm sorry, it was a fun
And
place
we
to
were
be.
surrounded with we were surrounded with ambient lighting. There's
Yes,
old
it's
and
the
recent
environment. It's this
HD.
You know
environment.
what I did when I
Oh,
was 16? Of course, I was on living on my own anyway. We got really stoned on some really good acid, and
yeah.
we bought it was a 20-pound box of Tide detergent. And there in Main Street in Houston near Herman Park, there's this huge freaking fountain. And we were tripping so high, man. I mean, anyway, we dumped that 20 pounds of Tide into that fountain.
Oh,
It
how
was a
fun.
magical place because
I bet it was.
it suddenly started growing. And then we started freaking out because it didn't stop.
Right.
They shut
Set
down the
the
whole
world.
freaking road.
Yep.
They had
Wow.
the fire department coming out trying to wash this. Yeah, but oh
Think about it,
man,
Wayne. You guys were
That's
laughing and tripping and having
amazing.
fun. Nobody
we
was trying to
were.
shoot nobody. Nobody
No,
was road
no, no,
raging.
no, no.
Nobody. It was just, oh, dude, peace, love, rock and
There
roll.
was a
And oh,
park
we
that
got
we
two in
were sitting in
trouble.
the swings watching all this unfold, and
Right.
it's just
Right. That's the difference.
anyway.
That's what I'm saying. I see your frustration with humanity, and it's real. But I
Yeah, it
look at
is. It
what's
is.
been
And I have
done.
such a passion. I mean,
I do
I,
too. But I
I
look at
just,
what's been done to these humanity. I look at what's been done and I'm
Oh,
like, it
yeah,
makes perfect sense. There's
yeah.
no other outcome for us trusting white coats has caused us our entire world. So I hope more people will wake up to that truth because if we give away our mind, it has really bad consequences. And if we let other people put us into environments that are
But that's
unhealthy
what I
for us.
was for 50 years. I was a Christian, self-proclaiming Christian. My mind was
Yeah.
captured. I mean, there
Yes.
was only one way of looking at things, and there was only one way of thinking.
Yeah, and there wasn't a
And
lot of
you
empathy or
now.
forgiveness for anybody who else who believed any different than you did. And now you
Yeah.
see that from a totally different position. You see that from a completely different place now. And Wayne, this is happening worldwide. People are
Yeah.
seeing everything from a totally different place now. And I hate to say it, but there's talk about that we might have supply shortages and stuff. And if we do, the first thing that's going to be an issue will be meds. Maybe this is going to be the greatest gift we've ever received.
Louis says, I bet it was totally insane. I'll tell
Yeah.
another quick story. So I lived in this apartment complex, and um, there was this two guys that lived two apartments over, and they were German engineers, and they were working for Compact Computer. Anyway, they had some of the best hash, and I would go over there in the evenings, and we would smoke hash and drink wine and play chess.
Nice.
It was beautiful. It was a beautiful time. And anyway, his roommate came home with a vial that was that big, right? And I said, "What is that?" And he said, "This is it's super concentrated ink for printing out chips on." But he says, "Here, you can have it." So on the way back to my apartment, I decided to put it in the swimming pool because I thought it would be kind of cool to see a purple pool. So I go to bed, and my apartment literally looked over the pool and my bedroom. And about, I guess it was like 7:50 in the morning or something, I heard this woman scream. She's screaming to her kids to get out of the pool. Well, I didn't know how concentrated this dye was. And both of her kids jumped into the swimming pool. They're both blondes, towheads. And I did see why she started screaming, because they look like Onulupas. They came out purple.
Yep. Too many green grapes for you, or purple grapes for you.
Oh, and I mean, they're crying. They're trying to. Anyway.
Oh, Wayne. Bubbles in purple dye. Look at you go.
Ah,
Radical,
ah,
radical.
yeah,
So,
excuse me. That
Both magical. See, that's the kind of trouble kids would get into back in the day. We weren't robbing, we weren't hurting people.
no.
We were pretty happy, just want to have a good time. And this is not where we're at now.
Uh,
And I think that's the largest part of your frustration, is because you know that there's a different way we can be.
yeah,
'Cause
yeah, I think there is.
I
And there
lived.
was a reward looking for the person that did that.
I bet there was. I bet there was.
Ah, mercy, mercy, mercy.
Oh,
Well,
that is so funny.
so
I'm sure
I
no one
think,
has done
uh,
anything like that in their lifetime. Sure, that's all right.
Never, not at all.
No, no.
No, no,
This
no.
group is such a Pollyanna group, It's pretty, pretty.
shrinking violets everywhere. Wallflowers, not. Never
Oh,
been accused of
just
being
looking
one.
at Jenny and Trina for my end, that ain't true.
Yeah, give me a leather jacket or a bacon skirt. I'm a different girl any day of the week. You don't know
So,
what you're gonna
so
get.
Jenny, were you a sucker for a guy in a really cool car?
Oh, well, no, I was the one with the cool cars when I
Me
had my
too,
money.
Jenny.
It
Me
was the other
too.
way
So
around.
how do you
Yeah.
go about that? That's interesting. So
So
you're a hot chick, and you've got this hot car. I
Yeah.
mean,
I ride
my God,
bikes.
it's
I
like
ride bikes.
huh?
I did my bike license. I ride bikes. I just, haven't got one at the moment. And Abby asked me to stop riding bikes when I got pregnant with Will, which I obviously did. But I would ride a bike again tomorrow. My dad used to he built bikes from scratch, beautiful bikes. I was riding Pallion from being a small girl,
How about that?
leaning in
That's
leaning
me
into the
too.
bend, I could lean in like nobody's business to anybody. I would have my knee nearly touching the floor. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So for me, I just, as soon as I could, and when I did have my money before it got stolen, cars were a thing for me. I had like a Honda Type R that I loved because that was just a nifty little car, such a strong engine, and pulling away from the lights in that thing, it got people every time. And I used to love to see the guys' faces when I left them in the dust. I'm a
I
good
could see
driver.
that.
Yeah, I'm a good driver. And so and I had a Subaru. I love a rangy, love going off road. I just love cars. I love really old cars. I love really new cars. I don't love the electric cars at all. They give me, I don't like the energy of them. I don't like the
I
feel
don't
of them.
either.
I don't like that they're so quiet. I love to hear the pipes.
I had
Anything
a
like with an engine, I love
300Z
to hear the pipes.
that was that little baby. I had that in a Porsche, and I really enjoyed that 300Z. It was just it was a
The Porsche I
uh,
drove in last, my
huh?
friend had a hire company, and I got to
My
200 miles an hour in that Porsche. Oh, I love it. I
I
love it.
had a
best
Porsche
friend,
Boxer.
Wayne, she
Huh?
had a 280ZX. My best friend had a 280ZX, and I had
Ah,
a
280.
Toyota
Yeah,
Supra,
yeah,
and I had a
yeah.
Toyota Supra with the turbocharged. We both got tickets for 121 and a 40 that night.
See?
Mm,
And by the
Oh,
way, I
yeah.
saw
ouch.
Lucky. That was funny. Lucky said I created little Smurfs.
You did. I have that image in my mind now.
Oh, y'all got to stop me. That's just too much.
Hi.
Smith
Oh,
babies.
I'm living it back. I mean, it's like having, a flashback. I've never had one on LSD, but boy, in this one, I mean, we're busting a gut because it's.
The good
People
Now
old.
the
wouldn't have
Smurfs are
stepped
going to live with me
outside.
on that.
She wouldn't have let them in the house. I would have gotten the hose out and hosed them down rather than
Oh,
bath it.
Paul Joe
Hose them.
said that he had wrecked his parents' GTO. I think that's what a
Oh,
goat. Yeah.
yeah, GTO. That's a
Oh
nice car.
yeah.
Fast
Yeah.
car. Woo.
I
Yeah.
remember I bought one of my favorite cars was a 72 Grand Prix.
Oh,
And yeah, I love that car. And it had the Pontiac
that's what my
400.
first car. I had the Pontiac. I had a 455
Yeah.
in it and a transmission
Yeah.
that rip it. Oh yeah, it was a beast.
That Grand
Custom
Prix,
flare.
that I love that. Man, I was styling. I want to tell you
Yeah,
what. Mm.
I miss that Trans Am
Sunglasses
too.
on. Give me a wheel and some sunglasses, some
My
pipes, and a
mother,
wheel.
by the way, she rode bikes all the time. I mean, and back in
Yeah.
her day, I mean, those were the big Harleys, the big
Wayne,
ones.
back in 2006, I owned a motorsports dealership. I sold
See,
motorcycles.
there you go. That's what I'm talking about. Deborah says 65
Yeah.
Mustang, love of my life. That was a
Oh,
sweet
nice car.
jewel. Yeah,
Nice
People
yeah.
would
car.
make love to that car, Deborah. They
Yeah,
would.
they would.
People would leave me alone
That's
with it. I
true.
was.
And you can make
That's
love to your car, I believe. I really do
Oh,
believe that.
I have Kundalini'd my way out of some spirals. I tell you, when you feel that rump coming through the
car
seat of your
magic.
pants, and all of a sudden the snakes wake up and oh, they're going up the spine and that tingle, and then your eyes just dilate and you're focused on the road, and it's like I
Oh,
felt it. That
shit.
is heaven. That's heaven. That's
Yeah.
heaven.
I could go down a road on that one, but I'm not.
Oh, it's an interesting one and a fun one.
I'm just
I've
not going to
actually
do that.
I'm not exaggerating, and Trina knows this. I know she has. That
Uh-huh.
Kundalini energy coming up and reaching that top trap door,
Well,
and
and it's so
it's
crazy too. I used to ride my dirt bike a mile to school back and forth every day. So I started experiencing what Jen's talking about when I was like 7 years old because the
yeah,
freedom and the speed and the wind in your face and I mean
yeah.
it was a rush. Yeah, I was hooked at like age 7. So yeah, I was taking the car at 14, but I was a damn good driver, Wayne. I had a lot of experience. I was
That's
good.
it.
Well,
That's it.
yeah, I
On
could
the
see
farm,
that.
isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
John put a
yeah.
302 in a Pinto station wagon. What the fuck?
Wow. How'd you keep that on the
Oh my
ground?
goodness. I'll tell you, part of my career in video post-production, my client was Diamond P Sports, and we got the contract for the NHRA. So in the edit studio, we were sitting in there, and in walked Don Garlitz, Big Daddy. And So it was my first time ever actually going out to a sanctioned event, but holy crap. I mean, I thought NASCAR was pretty cool, but NHRA, I mean,
Oh, Top
from Top
Fuel.
Fuel, Funny
Yeah,
Car,
wow.
Pro
Wow.
Stock, I mean, it was all that.
Yeah,
And
I
I
worked,
love
I
that.
worked,
I mean, I love the
I got to
people.
work for Tom Sneva.
Is that
The
right?
Indy, yeah, he's the
Yeah,
nicest guy. His wife
yeah.
Sharon. Oh, I just love them. I got to work for him, and I got to drive the Indy car.
Cool deal.
Yeah, I mean, not on the
Fabulous.
racetrack, just drive it around the golf course. Which you had to be really careful. But yeah, I didn't get to go 200 miles an hour or nothing. But wow, what a
Wow.
neat experience being inside an Indy car. They're
Oh,
so
hell
small.
yeah.
Wayne, I could barely get my feet in there, and I don't have big feet.
Well,
But
the
Wow.
drivers are small people. I knew
they
Jeff
are.
Gordon as a
Tom
friend,
Magick.
and what?
Should apply. I've got size 4 feet. I would fit
See, you would be great
perfectly.
at that. You'd be
Yeah,
so
It
good at
was
I'm
that.
like,
great.
oh,
All right, ladies, we gone over. Kenny Bernstein was a really cool dude, though. I got to tell you what, that guy. Anyway, well,
Bernstein.
huh?
That
What's
sounds
that?
familiar.
Oh, Kenny
Bernstein.
Bernstein. Yeah, he won
Yeah.
Top Fuel. He won Funny Car. He was the Budweiser guy.
Oh, that's
How I got
right.
to meet him was that the post-production facility, we got the contract with Bud Sports.
Okay.
So, that's a story in itself. Ladies, I
Oh,
love y'all.
yeah,
We
me
we
too.
we dealt in some really, really heavy stuff in the front end. Definitely going out in a much lighter, upbeat way. But
Yeah.
folks, and ladies, I think y'all will agree. I inside, I can't help but not think there's just if we're missing something as a species, and it ain't no savior. I mean, we're missing
mm,
something.
I
It's
think I think that we got distracted with an outside protection that we forgot that the protection's only going to come from within and from us. So until
yeah.
we can figure that out and start protecting each other and protecting humanity, we're going to be in trouble. And it could be the end of humanity as we know it if we
Maybe
don't figure it
we'll
out.
talk next week about the eclipse. I will be there. I saw the first one. In
Mhm.
fact, I'm not that far from the X.
Wow.
wow.
And those
So I
pictures
think there's
you
some
got,
heavy psychic energy there. I just get this
Um,
vibe.
when I pulled cards regarding like some question in the chat, I can't remember it fully, but it was about the hack and you mentioned the eclipse at the same time. The moon card came out with temperance, which are two major arcanas. I don't know if you can see
There
them
we
there,
go.
two
Yeah.
major arcanas. And so it's speaking about the subconscious field and a magnetic shift for me. Also, if you look at those two jugs, how they're being transmuted and the magnetism is drawing one from the other vessel. The magnetism is going to be super strong during that
that's the
period.
feminine. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
it's all
divine
feminine,
feminine coming into
all
power.
altered. Yeah, the subconscious field and that hippo here is in this card for the moon is, it's there. There's danger in that magnetism. It's a very strong field. And so I think you're going to be super charged up by that field when you are under that eclipse so closely, Wayne. But I think other people who aren't quite ready for it are going to be, like you say, challenged by it. They're going to lose that temperance. They're going to lose the ability to see what's up and see it in a more linear way of men versus women type deal, one side versus the other. Whereas people like you, me, people in the chat, I feel that we're going to pick up on that magnetism, and it is a magnetism that we could utilize very strongly and channel very strongly. But it speaks about the
Magnetism.
Eight of Wands and the Six of Pentacles regarding the hack and the devil, in that it is a hack. It quite obviously is, but I don't think it's fully human. I think part of it is AI itself, conscious of the subconscious of that itself.
That I
And
don't doubt. Wow.
that's going to really mess things up for a bit, cause some chaos. It could be a good thing. But yeah, the moon card came out with temperance. So, to channel that magnetism because it's going to be super strong. But
Lauren
at the
is going
same
to be right there.
not for the neophyte, really for the adept, to be channeling that type of energy. So, but that would
Well,
speak about too.
maybe we'll talk about that because it's coming up real quick. It's about, I think, almost a month away. So it's
Yeah,
on a
also
Monday.
that would speak to Trina's flooding too, that you mentioned at
Yeah,
the start.
yeah, yeah.
Water is affected
A
by
lot of
magnets.
water
The
shifting,
moon.
like with that magnetism, it's shifting, the tide, both in the subconscious field and I feel in the physical field. But it's a lot of water, and it'll be an interesting energy.
I think so.
Ladies, love you.
Love
Everyone
you
out
too.
there, we love y'all. Thank you.
Wholeness.
Y'all are the best. This is, a place where we get to talk openly and share forthrightly. And we always say, as Mary Wynn says, love one. So
Yeah, love
I like
one.
that.
What if it
Yeah.
could be as simple as remembering to shield this planet could make the changes that we needed, just because it would start to shift the environment. We start shielding the planet, it's going to shift the environment a little at a time. And when the environment changes, the humans in that environment will change in accordance. So this could be the opening of the divine feminine. And this could be where people's hearts open because their intuition comes back online, their empathy comes back online, the more maternal part of them comes back online, and they actually start to care and love for the people around them and the planet they live on. There's going to be a shift. It's just how many of us will do it and how fast and how much of an effect can we have.
See, I'd like to have an ending like a Mark Twain instead of a Stephen King. So
Me
anyway,
too.